It's March 3rd, Election Day in North Carolina. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about politics. All politics is local, by the way, because that's what really matters. Your local area, your state. Yeah. Because you can affect that with your own self, like your presence. You can talk to these people. They're local. The other guys, they're in D.C., they're in the swamp, so what can you do there? So last night, I wanted to get back into 2 Peter chapter 2, which is heavy. Destructive heresies, false prophetic, end-time judgments, all this. Which is the gospel, because what is the gospel other than a beautiful message of salvation to deliver you from what? Worldwide destruction, like the flood. Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah, they were eating, they were drinking, they were giving in marriage, they were having a good time, doing their economics, doing all their idolatry, worshiping the gods of the heavens and the gods of the trees and the whatever. They were doing their wickedness, and bam, God said, that's it. And he closed the door on the ark, and you were done. So think of the ark as the wedding invitation. To get on the ark is like getting into the wedding invitation that has yet to occur on this earth. That's what we're waiting for. Jesus is going to have a party on this earth. We're getting ready for a party which includes the food of the death of the wicked, the kings of the earth, the wicked people you don't see, families that you don't see that are playing with all the economics and stealing from the work and the ingenuity and the inventions of the people. The farmer being racked with stolen effort because they commoditize the farmer, and then the farmer becomes a slave to their pathetic commodity pricing. Wickedness. Can't live without food, can't live without water, right? You need clean air, you need clean water, and you need good food, right? That's the essence of living. Everything else is synthetic or extra. Obviously, we need safety. We need shelter, in bad weather. But just like the cows that I want to raise up to make the beautiful milk, I'm going to build a barn for them, but I want them outside and eating grass. I want them to have plentiful grass, good grass, healthy grass, wonderful grass. But when it's cold, or snowing, or icing, or rain, or thunder, or whatever, they can run to the barn where they're going to be milked by a specialized machine. But they like being outside. I like being outside. We need shelter at night. We need shelter in the storm. We need shelter when it's super hot, right? But on a beautiful spring day or fall day, we could just literally sit outside, sleep outside, and as long as we have food and water and good air to breathe, we can survive. Guess what can't survive? The machine, the AI, the server farm, the data center, right? The robot. If he doesn't have power, he doesn't think, move, solve problems, he is empty. He is dead without power from the grid, right? Or a battery, which is powered by the grid, recharged by the grid. And what else about physics that we don't get? So the machine that's solving all your riddles, doing all your research, is reading information and spitting out, and it makes hallucinogenic things come out of the machine. Why? Because it has no rationality, it has no spirit, it has no emotion, It can't feel. It has no soul. And they're trying to make you a machine. They're trying to figure out how to control your mind. And they have. They're controlling your mind because you play it safe. You don't step out of the comfort zone that you're in. And most people operate in a comfort zone. I was just having a back and forth with one of my friends, and he's basically saying, I'm telling him, you're playing it safe. Because what I preach here on this channel and what I'm going to do by God's power and his authority and grace in me as his servant and as his son, what God is going to do for me to help you, your children, I want to help you and your children. I'm okay. I'm going to have a beautiful entrance into heaven. I'm fine. I am. I got the validation of heaven. You may have the validation of earth. I got the validation of heaven, even while I'm talking right now, that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Why? Because God loves you, and God wants you to be safe, and God wants you to come to him and his kingdom. He wants you to reign with him, be part of his family. But you gotta overcome what? The world, its lust, the system, the lies. The church is not distinct. The church looks like the world. Nobody in a church, I mean, if you're, politics easy, right? Oh, my church stands for life and we don't like abortion, therefore we support Trump. Okay, that's not scary. That's not out there. Okay, my church believes that a lot of mental illness is a product of demonic occupation inside of human souls. Let us become a healing center for people who are suffering from mental illness, depression, schizophrenia, bipolar syndrome, whatever. We want to create a healing center at our building where God's people come, because where does God dwell? The people, not the building, right? He's in the people, right? So our temple, which is the gathering of God's holy people, sacred holy people, his family on earth that are preparing the earth for his return, want to set people free from all these mental problems and emotional problems. No drugs, set them free, get them out of jail, the jail of drugs, psychotropic drugs, right? So you put out a banner and you say, come to this place for healing from mental illness. Is that out of the norm? Will that not create some controversy, especially if you have doctors in your church or psychiatrists in your church or kids that have taken classes on psychiatry and know the protocols for bipolar, what drugs to try and experiment with on people, which is what they're doing. They don't have a drug for schizophrenia voices. They don't. They say they do because the voice can change because it's from a spiritual source. Who's supposed to operate in the spirit realm with authority? Is it not the sons and daughters of the Most High? I know what I'm saying is heavy, and I know what I'm saying is hard, but it's an example of what it means to come out of the world system and do good. Is it not a good thing to set people free from being bipolar or manic or schizophrenic and have them become clear-headed disciples of the Lord and doing it like you did it, helping others? Because there's millions of people with these problems all over the world, but definitely in America, especially in the rising generation. They've been poorly fed, they've been drugged and vaxxed at 72 occurrences of vaccination by 18. Right? The food that's got junk in it, the water's got junk in it. Where do you think people are getting sick? How? And the movies and the news and the social media is saying things to them that affect their thoughts, which in turn affects their soul, which in turn affects their brain. Are you going to come out and fight for these kids. No, you're not. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it in your church. You're not going to do it in your neighborhood. You're not going to do it all by yourself. You're not going to do it. But what if God is telling you to do that at this time in human history? What are you going to do? If you don't obey that call, you will be passed over, and thus Jesus will move to another person who will do it. So that's why you see this guy with the green hat and the orange shirt and the gray jacket on, talking in his car, driving to Charlotte. I was called to do something, set people free. People hate God, running from God, involved in the occult. I ran into that almost 20 years ago, and it kicked my ass. So I got beat by the bad guys. Lost my land, I lost my house, lost my ministry, lost the business, lost everything. I took a beating at the hands of the dark forces just by saying Jesus owns that street that we walk on in our town. And I did 3 events once a year called Take Back the Streets. I made a declaration, not as a church person, not inside of somebody else's church, not inside of a Baptist church or a Methodist church or any of that. I went to all the churches, invited them to come. Because if you're born again and you're a brother, don't care what you call yourself. Because if you're a biblicist, you're going to change. Like right now, Israel. What's your view on Israel? Most people are confused. They don't know what to do with Israel. They don't know how to act toward Israel. They don't know if we should defend Israel. Because it's all a mess on purpose by Satan. He done a great job to get you to hate Israel, if you hate Israel. Or think that they're running the world. He did a great job. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and others. Dave Smith, many others. Young Turks, many who can talk are selling you on some stuff that's very influential and convincing. So God, last night, tells me over and over and over again to buy from him gold, buy from him what I need to function. Buy. So the word was buy. Buy, buy, buy. And I knew what verse in the Bible he was talking about, because I've preached on it. If you know what I mean, buy from me gold, buy from me silver, buy from me. He's talking to Laodicea, the last of the 7 churches that the Spirit is speaking to. And do you think that that was tied to the 1st century and only the 1st century? Or do you think it's dispensational, which I've heard taught, right? That 7 churches, the lukewarm church, and we're in the lukewarm era. No, I think there's churches that are like Ephesus. I think there's churches that are like Smyrna, Philadelphia. I think there's churches that are like, I forgot the one that was, the one that's Synagogue of Satan. There's definitely Synagogue of Satan territories, like New York or Rome, right? Where they've set up a synagogue for Satan, LA. So, I'm going to dig in to Revelation chapter 3, Laodicea. But before I get into that verse, I'm just going to do a quick review of the chapter, because that's what I did this morning. The first church is Sardis. That's the one. It's not. So Sardis is a church that has people in it. So it's a whole group of people call themselves Christians, just like today. Just like your church, where you go. Everybody, it's a member. They've been baptized. They tithe. They sing the songs. They come to church. They do the Sunday school, some of them. But the bottom line is there's no sense that there's a problem with their eternal destiny. They feel secure in their eternal destiny. They feel like they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're a good person. Maybe they're not committing adultery. Maybe they are. Who knows? But the point is, they don't steal too much. They smile at people. They try to be nice, right? And they call themselves born again sons and daughters of the Most High. So that's Sardis, right? Now let's hear what Jesus says to John about this particular church. And the thing that blows my mind about these 7 churches is, listen to this, to the angel of the church in Sardis. So that means every church, even today, has an angel if it's a true church. I have angels doing what I'm doing. I have an accompanying support from heaven that protects my car, that protects my children, that protects my wife. I know his name. I'm not going to tell you. But I didn't know that until I got deeper in. And I realized how much I need the angel. And Sardis needs to know, just like you need to know, that you have an angel judging what you're doing. Here's how. Because the angel writes to the angel he's writing. So who's writing? John. John's writing through the Spirit, which is Jesus. He's the Spirit of prophecy. He's writing to an angel, which is way higher than you and me in terms of knowledge, power, and what they see. They're in the second heaven. They're in the second heaven looking down. And he's saying to that angel, the one who has and owns, has the deed to the 7 spirits of God and the 7 stars. So why does he say spirits, stars? Because we understand that a star lights up the sky and it has a role and a function in that sky. It tells time, seasons, but it's also observational. That's what people don't get. The sky at night, on a clear night, that has the North Star always at the middle, over the North Pole or the center of the earth, doesn't move because that sky is for signs, the stars, and all those so-called planets and other things. That's a sign and a season for you to discern where we're at. And of course, we don't know how to read that because we haven't been taught, because they don't want you to know. But I know that's what it's doing. And God is saying those 7 stars observe, because what is he saying? They observe, I know your works. So they're watching. He's tying in the spirits and the stars, and he connects that with knowing. So think of the throne as the top of the pyramid, and think of all the angels around the throne as ones that he looks at and looks through to all that's going on in the earth. They have distinct responsibility to cover territory, just like the enemy. Satan has principalities and powers, and they are fighting for territory. But God is above that, and he has angels fighting for territory. What do you think's going on in Iran right now? God has got a good angel doing good fighting for good. So the Iranian people who prayed and prayed and prayed for release from this horrible tyranny, it doesn't matter about misstatements about the persecution. Bottom line is these people are dancing in the streets. That's not fake, right? And there's people dying. That's not fake. And there's things being destroyed, buildings and military installations and missiles and ships and submarines are being literally destroyed. So it's not fake. It's real. War's real. People die. And stuff gets destroyed. Look at Gaza. Does Gaza look like that if October 7th doesn't happen? We can question how October 7th was orchestrated or allowed to be. But we know Iran funded what? The stuff, the fighters. They don't have a job. They don't go to work, get paid, save up their money to be terrorists. They're paid by somebody. And it could be European leaders hiding in the dark, paying terrorists to create trouble for the bankers to have something to fund when they have a war. Because when you buy stuff, military stuff, drones, all that, there's exchange, and every time there's exchange, there's a VIG. There's a 10%, 15%, 25% VIG on exchange of money. That's why people talk about Bitcoin being used by the dark to hide their activities, because you don't know. It's just, you can't see behind the scenes of the transaction, right? Could be possible. Can't argue. Good point, right? You can't argue most points because everybody has a point. But you got to know what God is saying and what to care about. We should care about the kingdom first. We should care about the word of the Lord first. We should care about what the Spirit of the Lord is saying to the American church, and each one of us is in a part of the American church, a region. The South is distinctly different than the Northeast or New England or LA, California, San Francisco. We're all fighting different stuff. So we need to know what the Spirit's saying to us clearly, verbally. Oh, God doesn't talk verbally. Read the Bible. But that doesn't tell me what to do from Pilot Mountain and the surrounding region. I have to get urgings. I have to get influence. I have to get ideas popping into my head. And that's what I'm doing. That's Tree of Life Farms. It is from God. It is download from heaven. That's why I'm doing it. It's not from me. It's not from my Adamic nature. It's from heaven. Show me the people that are doing these kinds of things. There's not anybody that I know of. There's people doing fancy stuff with farms and people doing regenerative agriculture like Joel Salatin. But he's not trying to build a whole new way of living. I mean, he is, but he isn't. He's not a preacher. He is a teacher, but he's not a preacher. He's not a prophet. And he doesn't care about baptizing like I do. I'm a baptizer, right? I have a spot to baptize people on our land. That was my number one thing, water. Because baptism is an ordinance that we got to obey. So these spirits and angels have a role, and stars have a function. They basically report on the affairs of the church. I know your works. You have a name. That's my point. You have a church. You have a name. You call yourself Christian. You have a name. You have respect, right? A pastor has respect, an elder. I preach every Sunday, or I go to do prison ministry. I do home visitations. I am honored by the people with a salary. You have a name, that you are alive. And what does Jesus say? But you're dead. That's what I say to the American church. You're dead. In my world, in my life, where I've been and what I've seen, yeah, there's places where people dance and sing beautifully, and there's places where guys preach the whole counsel to do. Well, they talk about heaven and hell, but are they equipping? Are they training? Are they releasing? Are they getting people to pay money for all that? Jesus didn't charge money. He just come and follow me. I'll take care of you, right? You just follow me. Don't worry about your money bags. Don't worry about how many clothes you have. Just come and follow me. Naked undone. Come, follow me. This is for people out there who think they know. You don't know what it's like to follow Jesus until you have nothing. And he has to fund what you're doing. Ponder. Think about what the church did. So I'm going to stop there for now, okay? I'll pick this up later.